Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 259 of our trip around the United States. Today is our first official day in Missouri, and we will be spending the next 8 days exploring the state. We wanted to come here last night to end our day, but with the severe weather, the trail system was closed, and it was for the best because it makes the perfect place to be able to start our day in earnest. We are here at the George Washington Carver National Monument. George Washington Carver was an amazing man who rose from slavery to be a very prominent figure in American history. And this national monument celebrates his boyhood, his childhood home, his growth, and his life. It is a fascinating place to walk through, and in just a few minutes, I'm very excited to be able to take you on a very brief tour of this national monument and show you what it has in store for you. After that, Aichan and I are going to take on the other adventure we had to put off last night. We didn't go out there last night because there was thunder, lightning, and tornadoes, and I suspect that was a good decision. For today's route, we have 300 miles to cover. We'll be making our way east for half the day along Interstate 44, through Springfield, not that one, into Marshfield, before we turn off the interstate and start heading our way back, west through Greenfield, to end our day back along the western edge of the state. Somewhere out in that hill country is a legendary sword buried in a stone, waiting for a geocacher that is worthy of the find to come and add their name to the logbook. And we are going to quest out into the hills of Missouri in the attempt to find this sword. Cross our fingers that we'll be able to do so, and let's hope that today has some really good adventures in store for us. Come on, let's go get this thing started. Let's go. The George Washington Carver National Monument was founded on July 14th of 1943 by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Not only was this the first national monument dedicated to a non-president, but it was also the first national monument dedicated to an African American. While Carver was born into a life of slavery, he eventually rose to be one of the most prominent scientists of the early 20th century. Among his many other accomplishments, he developed techniques to improve soil conditions depleted by repeating plantings of cottons, urging agricultural experts to restore nitrogen to soils by practicing systematic crop rotations. He eventually founded an industrial research laboratory where he developed hundreds of applications for new crops. He firmly believed in the power of individuals to control their own destiny, as expressed in his closing remarks at the 59th commencement event of Selma University in 1942.
Equipment. Figure it out for yourself, my lad. You've all that the greatest of men have had. 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and a brain to use if you would be wise. With this equipment, they all began. So start to the top and say, I can. Look them over, the wise and great. They take their food from the common plate. And similar knives and forks they use, with similar laces to tie their shoes. The world considers them brave and smart, but you've all they had when they made their start. You can triumph and come to skill. You can be great if you only will. You're well equipped for what fight you choose. You've legs and arms and a brain to use, and a man who has risen great deeds to do began his life with no more than you. You are the handicap you must face. You are the one who must choose your place. You must say where you want to go, how much you have studied the truth to know. Courage must come from the soul within. The man must furnish the will to win. So figure it out for yourself, my lad. You are born with all that the great have had. With your equipment, they all began. Get hold of yourself and say, I can.
From the George Washington Carver National Monument, we head down the road just a bit for the next leg of our adventure. Knowing that this is supposed to be a difficult geocache, I am more than a little wary to discover this ammo can sitting here out in the open. Where's the logbook? What's all this? It's that exact moment when you realize that ammo can right there on the ground, that's not the geocache. That's the equipment that you need. to reach the geocache. Here we go. Desmond Tutu is quoted as saying, "There's only one way to eat an elephant, a bite at a time." What this quote means is that some things in life can seem daunting or even overwhelming. But these large goals can be accomplished gradually by taking one step at a time, or one bite at a time. Aichan pulled up a seat next to the cows in the field, and together they all watched me climb, one step at a time and one handhold at a time, ascending to the top of the pole. And by taking down this beast, one bite at a time, in practically no time at all, I was hanging out right at the top. I didn't use the clip on the way up as I found it too slow, but once I was here to deal with the ammo can, I secured myself in and began to get to work. It feels very precarious, hanging on to the top of two handholds at the top of a telephone pole while trying to sort through an ammo can and add your name to the logbook. But with steady bites, this elephant was consumed and digested. Success, nothing to it but to do it. That, however, was only part one of a two-part climbing adventure. The other geocache we needed to seek out was just as easily spotted. From ground level, we could see the ammo can right at the top of this entrance sign. Once again, I took the climb one step at a time and made it to the top easily enough, but then came the hard part. Wrapping my legs around the underside of the beam, I slowly began to crawl my way out toward the center of the bar until I was able to get the ammo can in hand and pop the top. Good balance here makes all the difference between a fun find and a very rapid descent. With slow, careful movements, we were able to return the geocache where it needed to be and reach the ground safely. Now this is a couple of geocaches that I suspect my daughter would have enjoyed making the find on. She is quite the accomplished climber. Just one more step between us and the end of our quest for adventure. We have done it. We have found the legendary sword in the stone. Now, to see if we can remove it. We have done it. We are worthy. Finally beginning our miles for the day, our first stop is Sequiota Park in Springfield. This park is built around 3 caves and a spring that begins 500 feet back in the limestone hillside. There is a crawl all the way cave, a walk all the way cave, and the cave which the spring is emerging from, the Sequiota Cave. For the most part, access to the caves is closed. However, in March, the Springfield Greene County Park Board does offer the opportunity to kayak through the cave on guided tours. Exploring further into any of the 3 caves will give you a chance to observe how the gradual dissolution of bedrock materials like limestone helps to form these karst topography cave systems. There was certainly no lack of great geocaches to be found along our route for the day. And there was no doubt in my mind that this was, in fact, the official geocache that we were looking for. When we were in the cities, we had to play it stealthy, waiting until nobody was paying attention to reach into busy spots and make the grab. Out amongst the rolling hills, we did not have to worry so much about the muggles, instead freely grabbing the cash container at our discretion. Before leaving the interstate completely, we come into Marshfield, the county seat of Webster County, with a population of about 7,500 people. This is the birthplace of John Powell Hubble, who played a critical role in establishing the fields of extragalactic astronomy and observational cosmology. In his honor, you can find a 1/4 scale replica of the Hubble Space Telescope located right on the front lawn of the county courthouse. Here, we also discovered the Webster County War Memorial in memory of the men and women from Webster County who died in military service during World War I, II, Korea, and Vietnam. To wrap things up, Aichan and I hop on to the Frisco Highline Trail. This is a rail-to-trail project that stretches through 35 miles of scenic Ozarks, connecting Springfield to Bolivar. And this trail is filled from one end to the other with geocaches between every 528 feet and 1,000 feet or so. We didn't do nearly all that many though. We just found a handful of the geocaches near one of the trailheads before enjoying a nice sunset to bring our day to a close. All right, it looks like that is going to do it for our first full day spent here in Missouri. And what a great way to get to start things off this morning at the George Washington Carver National Monument before setting out to have an adventure climbing up and going through the hills to find the legendary sword in the stone. The day moved along at a fairly good clip after that as we made our way along Interstate 44 through Springfield and Marshfield. But once we got off the interstate, it went from cities to the rolling country hills of Missouri, and that's where we have been all day long. The finds have been good, the roads have been nice, and the birds are singing, the cows are mooing. Not a bad way to get to see Missouri. We are just one stop away from hitting Nevada for the night. That is where we're going to go ahead and bed down and get ready for our next day out here in Missouri. Thank you guys for joining us as we get our tour of this state started in earnest. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.